Advance, Britannia! Long live the cause of freedom! God save the King!
We saw Churchill statues desecrated. We all know the left hate him, and naturally the Conservatives defend him, holding their ground in the culture war. But wait! If this is the case, how would you explain what the arch-conservative Patrick Buchanan, the one who invented the very term culture war, says?
And I think Winston Churchill, for all his triumphs and successes, was probably the man most responsible for the early and rapid collapse of the British Empire.
What is going on here? Churchill, the defender of the British Empire, is blamed for ruining the empire? To understand the real role Churchill played, we need to forget the ongoing culture war, to forget the present day spins, and to dive into the 1940s.
You cannot reason with a tiger when your head is in its mouth!
Great cinema, rubbish history. Britain was never fighting for its survival in 1940. It could have just stopped fighting. Hitler, or the tiger in this Hollywood version, did not demand its surrender. All Hitler wanted was to be left alone on the continent, and in return he offered to leave Britain and its empire alone. However, Churchill preferred to fight. Moreover, Britain was not in danger of being taken over, even if Hitler wanted to take it over.
Sea Lion was a fool's errand, an operation which, if carried out, would have led to nothing but the deaths or capture of tens of thousands of German troops. It was, fundamentally, a bad idea.
In reality, Germany could not even win the Battle of Britain, and it needed to win it if it had any chance of making the invasion work. But even if it had won it had no chance to land troops, and even if it could land troops, it had no chance to supply them. Take the last part, supplies. According to the German plans, the land force was comparable to the 6th Army, which was to be encircled later in Stalingrad. With a Royal Navy in the Channel, the only way for it to be supplied would be via the air, and this is something the Germans tried at Stalingrad. They could not even supply the food needed, let alone the fuel and the ammunition. Bottom line, their chances of invading Britain were as realistic as invading the moon. Since neither Britain nor Germany had any reason to continue this war, Stalin was afraid that they would stop fighting. Stalin, as we will see, needed Britain and Germany to be at war with each other. In 2019, the European Parliament issued the resolution on the importance of European remembrance for the future of Europe. According to this resolution, the USSR should be blamed alongside Germany for starting World War II. The Soviet Union is to blame for starting World War II? That comes as a surprise to most people, but that in itself is not surprising, given that most people are surprised to learn that Poland was invaded by the Soviet Union alongside Germany in 1939. The Soviet Union was informed by British and French representatives in Moscow in August 1939 that their governments were serious about stopping Hitler and that they would declare war on Germany if it attacked Poland. But the USSR did not join Britain and France. It did just the opposite and allied itself with Germany by signing the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, backing it to confront Britain and France. Instead of cautioning Hitler to leave Poland alone, the USSR incentivized him to invade it by offering him more than Danzig, which was all Hitler initially demanded. Hitler himself admitted he would not have had the courage to invade Poland if it was not for the Soviet position. It was the USSR that proposed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, according to which Germany would get half of Poland. Furthermore, the USSR supplied Germany with oil and other resources to make it possible for the latter to wage war in Europe. This policy was in accordance with what Stalin said privately.
The war is between two groups of capitalist nations, but we are not against it if they fight a bit and weaken each other. It would be good if Germany could destabilize the positions of the wealthiest capitalist nations, of England especially. Hitler, without knowing it, is weakening the foundations of the capitalist system. We, in the meantime, are able to maneuver, to nudge one country on against the other, so that the fight will be more intense.
It is not surprising, then, that Stalin was so happy after he signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, boasting that he had deceived Hitler. Indeed he had. While Germany attacked on the 1st of September 1939, the Soviet Union did not. Germany repeatedly reminded the USSR that it is supposed to invade as well. However, the Soviet Union waited until Britain and France declared war on the only aggressor, Germany, and until Germany had done most of the dirty work crushing the Polish resistance. Only then the USSR took its own share in accordance with the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Knowing what we know now, we should be amazed at how ahead of his time Harry S. Truman, the future President of the United States, was when he said in 1941, "If we see that Germany is winning the war, we ought to help Russia, and if that Russia is winning, we ought to help Germany. And in that way, let them kill as many as possible." What Truman proposed made sense. Soviet socialism and National Socialism were both genocidal, aggressive, and dangerous. Instead of Britain, and later the USA, exhausting itself by fighting one of the two totalitarian monsters, it could have left the two monsters to fight each other. That was easy to achieve because all Churchill had to do was nothing, just to stay out of the war once France fell. What Churchill effectively did was some of the Soviets' job. He wasted British blood and British treasure in order to save Soviet blood and Soviet treasure. This resulted in Britain being bankrupted by 1945 and losing its empire after this. Churchill also made sure the USSR emerged less exhausted from World War II and therefore capable of waging a Cold War and threaten the West with a hot one. It turns out that Churchill served Soviet interests better than the interests of Britain. The British public voted Churchill the greatest Briton in 2002. Source BBC. And almost by 40,000 people surveyed by the Royal Mint in 2024.
Oh, come on!
Why was Churchill, who ruined Britain, voted the greatest Briton?
Churchill is revered for the same reason his statues are attacked, because neither the left nor the right care about the real role Churchill played. The left want to spin their regular racism story. They need to see racism everywhere, and the right oppose them by adopting the Hollywood version, according to which Britain was hanging by a thread and Churchill saved it in its darkest hour.